I watched in horror as the HOA security guard pressed the barrel of his gun against my daughter's chest. His hands were shaking. His eyes were wild with rage. He had no idea that the woman he was threatening had spent the last 15 years taking down armed criminals for the FBI. "You are going to submit to questioning right now, or I will arrest you for trespassing," he screamed at her. The neighbors were gathering. Some were recording with their phones. Others were backing away in fear. My daughter Sarah stood perfectly still. Her voice was calm and steady. "Sir, I need you to lower your weapon immediately." That was the moment I realized our peaceful, gated community had become a prison, and the man with the gun was not our protector. He was the threat we needed protection from. What happened next would change everything forever. 3 months ago, I thought I had found paradise. Our gated community in Riverside Estates promised security, beauty, and peace of mind. The HOA fees were steep, but the amenities were impressive. Golf course views, pristine landscaping, and 24-hour security. What could go wrong? My daughter Sarah was visiting for her summer vacation. She is a decorated FBI tactical commander with 15 years of experience in high-risk operations. But to me, she was just my little girl coming home to relax and unwind from the stress of her demanding career. Sarah has always been disciplined about her fitness routine. Even on vacation, she maintained her training schedule. Every evening at 6 o'clock, she would lace up her running shoes and head out for a 5-mile jog through the neighborhood. She wore her standard FBI training gear because it was comfortable and functional. The first time I saw Marcus, our HOA security guard, I knew something was off. He was a large man in his 40s with an aggressive demeanor and an oversized ego. He drove around the neighborhood in his white security vehicle like he owned the place. The way he looked at residents made me uncomfortable, but I dismissed my concerns as paranoia. That first evening, Sarah returned from her run looking frustrated. "Dad, that security guard stopped me 3 times during my jog," she told me. "He wanted to know who I was, where I lived, and what I was doing in the neighborhood." I felt my protective instincts kick in. "What did you tell him?" I explained that I was visiting my father at 1247 Oak Street. I showed him my identification. I was polite and professional. Sarah paused and looked out the window. But something about him bothered me. His questions were aggressive and inappropriate. The next morning, I decided to introduce myself to Marcus and clear up any confusion. I found him at the security checkpoint near the main entrance. He was writing notes in a small notebook when I approached. "Good morning, Marcus. I am Robert Chen from 1247 Oak Street. I wanted to introduce myself and explain that my daughter Sarah is visiting for the summer." Marcus looked up from his notebook with cold, suspicious eyes. "Your daughter has been acting suspicious, running around in tactical gear, refusing to answer questions properly. We take security very seriously in this community." I felt my blood pressure rising. "She answered all of your questions. She showed you her identification. She is a federal agent visiting her father." "Anyone can claim to be a federal agent," Marcus replied with a sneer. "I have been doing security work for 20 years. I know suspicious behavior when I see it." That conversation left me deeply unsettled. I had lived in this community for 2 years without any problems. The previous security guards had been professional and courteous. Marcus was different. He seemed to view every resident as a potential threat. Over the next few days, I noticed Marcus paying special attention to our house. He would drive by slowly, multiple times per day. He would stop and stare when Sarah was in the front yard. He would take notes in his little notebook whenever she left for her evening run. Sarah remained calm and professional despite the obvious harassment. Her FBI training had taught her to de-escalate tense situations rather than provoke confrontation, but I could see the frustration building in her eyes. "Dad, this guy is conducting surveillance on me," she told me one evening. "He is documenting my activities, my schedule, my appearance. This is not normal security behavior." I called the HOA office the next morning to file a complaint. The receptionist transferred me to Corinne Williams, the HOA president. Corinne was a woman in her 50s with a reputation for being difficult and controlling. "Mr. Chen, I understand you have concerns about our security procedures," Corinne said in a condescending tone. "But you need to understand that we have had problems with unauthorized individuals in our community. Marcus is just doing his job." "My daughter is not unauthorized. She is my guest and she has every right to be here." "Does she have proper visitor registration? Has she completed the required background check? Does she have an approved visitor parking permit?" I was stunned. "She does not need any of those things. She is staying in my house, using my car, and she is my daughter." "Mr. Chen, everyone who stays in our community for more than 72 hours must be properly registered. These are the rules we all agreed to follow." The phone call ended badly. I realized that our HOA had become a bureaucratic nightmare run by people who had forgotten the difference between reasonable rules and authoritarian control. The harassment intensified after my phone call with Corinne Williams. Marcus began following Sarah more aggressively. He would park outside our house and watch her through binoculars. He would follow her during her evening runs, driving slowly behind her in his security vehicle. Sarah maintained her professional composure, but I could see the situation was affecting her. She had spent her career protecting others from exactly this type of predatory behavior. Being the target of harassment in her own father's neighborhood was both frustrating and infuriating. "He is escalating his behavior," Sarah told me during dinner one evening. "This morning he followed me to the grocery store. He sat in the parking lot and watched me through the windows. This is stalking behavior." I felt helpless and angry. My daughter was a federal agent who had risked her life protecting others from dangerous criminals. Now she was being stalked by a security guard in our own neighborhood. The next morning, I found Marcus taking photographs of Sarah as she loaded groceries into my car. I stormed over to confront him. "What are you doing? Why are you taking pictures of my daughter?" Marcus looked at me with a smug expression. "I am documenting suspicious activities for my security report. Your daughter refuses to follow proper procedures. She refuses to register as a visitor. She refuses to provide proper identification." "She has provided identification multiple times. She is staying in my house. She is my daughter." "Anyone can claim to be anyone," Marcus replied. "I have been instructed to maintain detailed records of all security concerns." That afternoon, Sarah received a formal written notice from the HOA. The letter demanded that she complete visitor registration within 24 hours or face removal from the property. It also stated that her aggressive behavior toward security personnel had been documented and reported to local authorities. Sarah read the letter with growing disbelief. "Dad, this is harassment. They are trying to intimidate me into leaving." I called Corinne Williams immediately. "This is completely unacceptable. My daughter is not a visitor. She is my family member staying in my home." "Mr. Chen, your daughter has been uncooperative with our security procedures. She has refused to comply with reasonable requests for information. She has demonstrated hostile behavior toward our security personnel." That is completely false. She has been nothing but professional and courteous. Our security guard has documented multiple incidents of aggressive behavior. He has photographs and detailed reports. If your daughter cannot follow our community rules, she will need to find somewhere else to stay. I hung up the phone in frustration. This was not about security or community rules. This was about control and intimidation. That evening, Sarah and I sat down to discuss our options. "I could leave," she said quietly. "I do not want to cause problems for you with your HOA." "Absolutely not," I replied firmly. "This is your home too. You have every right to be here." Sarah looked out the window where Marcus was parked across the street, watching our house. "Dad, I need to tell you something. I ran a background check on Marcus through FBI databases." My heart sank. "What did you find?" "He has a history of aggressive behavior. 2 previous employers terminated him for inappropriate conduct. He has several complaints filed against him for harassment and intimidation. He also has a concealed carry permit and owns multiple firearms." The information hit me like a punch to the stomach. Our HOA had hired an unstable individual with a history of aggressive behavior and given him authority over our community's safety. "There is something else," Sarah continued. "He has been taking photographs of me through the windows of our house. That is voyeuristic behavior. It is also illegal." I felt sick to my stomach. The man who was supposed to protect our community was stalking my daughter and violating her privacy. The next morning, I called the local police to file a complaint. The officer who took my report was polite but dismissive. "Sir, HOA security guards have broad authority to maintain community safety. Unless he has committed a specific crime, there is not much we can do. He is stalking my daughter. He is taking photographs of her without permission. He is harassing her. Has he threatened her directly? Has he attempted to physically harm her?" "Not yet, but his behavior is escalating." "I will file your complaint, but you might want to resolve this through your HOA first." I hung up feeling defeated. The local police were not going to help. The HOA was supporting Marcus despite his obvious problems. We were on our own. That afternoon, Sarah made a phone call to her FBI supervisor. "I need to run an informal threat assessment on someone," she told him. "I will send you the details." I watched as Sarah documented Marcus's behavior patterns, his background information, and his escalating harassment. She was treating this as a potential federal case rather than a neighborhood dispute. "Dad, I have resources that most people do not have," she told me. "If this situation continues to escalate, I can protect both of us." The formal violation notice arrived on a Tuesday morning. The HOA was fining me $500 per day for harboring an unauthorized resident who had failed to comply with community security protocols. The letter stated that if Sarah was not removed from the property within 48 hours, the HOA would pursue legal action for breach of contract. I stared at the letter in disbelief. After paying HOA fees for 2 years, maintaining my property according to their strict guidelines, and following every ridiculous rule they had imposed, they were now threatening to sue me for having my daughter visit. Sarah read the letter with a grim expression. "Dad, this is retaliation. They are trying to force me to leave because I refuse to be intimidated." That evening, Sarah discovered something that changed everything. She had noticed Marcus lingering near our house during her evening runs, but she had assumed he was just conducting his usual surveillance. When she returned from her run, she decided to walk around the perimeter of our property to check for any security concerns. What she found made my blood run cold. Marcus had been taking photographs of her through the windows of our house. She found his footprints in the flower beds beneath her bedroom window. She found cigarette butts where he had been standing and watching. "Dad, this is not security work," Sarah said as she showed me the evidence. "This is voyeuristic behavior. He has been watching me inside your house." I felt a rage building inside me unlike anything I had ever experienced. This man was supposed to protect our community, and instead he was violating my daughter's privacy and making her feel unsafe in her own father's home. Sarah called the local police again. This time, the officer who responded was more concerned. "Ma'am, if someone has been taking photographs of you through your windows, that could be considered stalking or harassment." "I am a federal agent," Sarah explained. "I recognize predatory behavior when I see it. This man is unstable and potentially dangerous." The officer took detailed notes and photographs of the evidence. "I will file a report and have a detective follow up. In the meantime, I recommend installing security cameras and documenting any further incidents." That night, Sarah could not sleep. She kept checking the windows and doors. Her FBI training had taught her to trust her instincts, and every instinct was telling her that Marcus was becoming increasingly dangerous. The next morning, I called an emergency meeting with the HOA board. I presented the evidence of Marcus's voyeuristic behavior and demanded his immediate termination. Corinne Williams reviewed the evidence with a dismissive attitude. "Mr. Chen, these are very serious accusations. We cannot simply terminate an employee based on allegations." "These are not allegations. This is documented evidence of criminal behavior. Marcus has been an exemplary employee. He has never received any complaints about his performance. He has been stalking my daughter. He has been taking photographs of her through windows. He has been harassing her for weeks." Corinne's expression hardened. "Your daughter has been the problem from the beginning. She has refused to follow proper procedures. She has been uncooperative with security protocols. She has demonstrated hostile behavior toward our staff." I realized at that moment that the HOA was not going to help. They had invested too much in supporting Marcus to admit they had made a mistake in hearing him. That afternoon, Sarah received a phone call from her FBI supervisor. "Sarah, I have completed the background check on Marcus Williams. This individual has serious red flags. He has a history of stalking behavior, weapons violations, and aggressive conduct with women. What do you recommend?" "I recommend treating this as a potential federal case. If he escalates his behavior, we can pursue charges for civil rights violations and stalking." Sarah looked at me with determination in her eyes. "Dad, I am not leaving. This man cannot be allowed to terrorize other residents the way he has terrorized us." That evening, Sarah took a different route for her run. She wanted to see if Marcus would follow her away from our immediate neighborhood. Sure enough, he followed her in his security vehicle, maintaining a distance of about 50 yards. When Sarah returned home, she found Marcus parked directly in front of our house. He was sitting in his vehicle with the engine running, staring at our front door. "Dad, he is not even trying to hide his behavior anymore," Sarah said. "He is openly threatening us." I looked out the window at Marcus sitting in his vehicle. His behavior had crossed from inappropriate to menacing. I felt like a prisoner in my own home. "Sarah, I am scared," I admitted. "This man is unstable and he has weapons. What if he decides to escalate this beyond harassment?" Sarah put her hand on my shoulder. "Dad, I have been dealing with dangerous individuals for 15 years. I know how to handle this situation. but I need you to trust me." That night, neither of us slept well. We both knew that the situation was reaching a breaking point. Marcus was becoming more aggressive and unpredictable. The HOA was supporting him despite clear evidence of his inappropriate behavior. The local police were not taking the threat seriously. Something was going to happen soon. We could feel it. It happened on a Thursday evening. Sarah had finished her run and was walking up the driveway to our house when she found Marcus blocking her path. He was standing directly in front of our garage door with his arms crossed and a hostile expression on his face. "Stop right there," Marcus commanded. "You are going to submit to questioning right now." Sarah remained calm and professional. "Sir, I need you to step aside so I can enter my father's house. You are trespassing on private property. You have refused to comply with security protocols. You are under citizen's arrest." I watched from the living room window as the confrontation unfolded. My heart was pounding as I realized that Marcus was attempting to physically detain my daughter. Sarah assessed the situation quickly. Marcus was blocking her path to the house. He was agitated and aggressive. His right hand was positioned near his waistband where she knew he carried his weapon. "Sir, I am not trespassing. This is my father's house and I am his guest. I need you to step aside immediately." Marcus stepped closer to Sarah. "You are going to come with me to the security office for questioning. If you resist, I will use force." That was when Sarah's FBI training took over. She recognized the threat pattern. Marcus was escalating toward physical confrontation. He was positioning himself to use his weapon if she tried to leave. "Sir, I am a federal agent. I am ordering you to step aside and allow me to pass." Marcus laughed with contempt. "You are not a federal agent. You are a trespasser who has been lying to avoid following the rules." Sarah reached slowly for her identification. "I am going to show you my FBI credentials." "Keep your hands where I can see them," Marcus shouted. "Do not reach for anything." I could see the situation spiraling out of control. I grabbed my phone and called 911. "I need police at 1247 Oak Street immediately. There is an armed security guard threatening my daughter." Outside, Marcus was becoming more agitated. "You are going to come with me right now, or I will arrest you for resisting." Sarah remained perfectly calm. "Sir, you do not have the authority to arrest anyone. You are a private security guard. I am a federal agent. I am ordering you to step aside." "You are lying," Marcus screamed. "I am tired of your lies and your attitude." That was when Marcus reached for his weapon. I watched in horror as he drew his gun and pointed it at my daughter's chest. "You are under arrest for trespassing and failure to comply with security protocols. Get on the ground right now." Sarah's training kicked in instantly. She had been in countless high-risk situations during her FBI career. She knew how to disarm an unstable individual without escalating the violence. "Sir, I need you to lower your weapon. There are neighbors watching. There are children in this neighborhood. You do not want to hurt anyone." Marcus pressed the gun against Sarah's chest. "Get on the ground right now, or I will shoot you." What happened next took less than 3 seconds. Sarah moved with lightning speed and precision. She grabbed Marcus's wrist and twisted his arm away from her body. She used her other hand to strike his elbow, forcing him to drop the weapon. She swept his legs and brought him to the ground face first. Within seconds, Marcus was on the ground with Sarah's knee on his back and his arm twisted behind him in a control hold. The gun was several feet away, safely out of reach. "Federal agent," Sarah announced loudly. "The suspect is secured. I need medical assistance and police backup." Marcus was screaming and struggling beneath Sarah's control. She assaulted me. She attacked me. I was just doing my job. Neighbors began gathering as they heard the commotion. Some were recording the incident with their phones. Others were calling 911. Everyone was shocked to see their security guard on the ground, restrained by the woman he had been harassing. Sarah maintained perfect tactical positioning. She kept Marcus secured while scanning the area for additional threats. She kept her voice calm and professional as she called for backup. "This is Special Agent Sarah Chen, FBI badge number 4782. I have disarmed and secured an armed individual who threatened me with a weapon. I need immediate police response and medical assistance." I ran outside to check on Sarah. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "I am fine, Dad. Stay back and let me handle this." Marcus continued screaming about being assaulted. "She attacked me. I was defending myself. She is not a real agent." Within minutes, police sirens filled the air. 3 patrol cars arrived simultaneously. The officers quickly assessed the situation and took control of the scene. The lead officer approached Sarah. "Ma'am, I need you to release the suspect and step back." Sarah carefully released Marcus and stepped away. "Officer, I am Special Agent Sarah Chen with the FBI. This individual threatened me with a deadly weapon. I disarmed him in self-defense." Marcus struggled to his feet, still screaming about being assaulted. "She attacked me. She is not a real agent. She is a trespasser who has been causing problems for weeks." The officer looked at Sarah with skepticism. "Ma'am, do you have identification?" Sarah slowly reached for her credentials. "I am going to show you my FBI identification." The officer examined Sarah's credentials carefully. His expression changed immediately when he realized he was dealing with a federal agent. "Agent Chen, can you please explain what happened here?" Sarah provided a detailed account of the incident. She explained Marcus's weeks of harassment, his stalking behavior, and his decision to threaten her with a weapon. She remained professional and factual throughout her report. The officer turned to Marcus. "Sir, did you draw your weapon on this federal agent?" Marcus realized that his story was falling apart. She was trespassing. She was refusing to follow security protocols. "I was just doing my job." "Sir, you do not have the authority to arrest anyone. You certainly do not have the authority to threaten a federal agent with a weapon." The police officer's radio crackled with urgent communications. "All units, be advised we have a federal agent involved in this incident. FBI is en route to the scene." Marcus's face went pale as he realized the magnitude of his mistake. "She is not a real agent. She is just pretending to be FBI to avoid following the rules." The officer held up Sarah's credentials. "Sir, these are legitimate federal identification documents. Agent Chen is a real FBI agent, and you just threatened her with a weapon." I watched as the reality of the situation began to sink in for Marcus. His arrogant demeanor crumbled as he realized he had just committed a federal crime. More police vehicles arrived. The neighborhood was now filled with flashing lights and curious onlookers. What had started as a simple confrontation had escalated into a major incident. Sarah remained calm and professional as she provided her statement to the investigating officers. "This individual has been stalking me for several weeks. He has been taking photographs of me without permission. He has been harassing me and my father. Tonight, he threatened me with a weapon and attempted to detain me illegally." Corinne Williams arrived at the scene in a state of panic. She pushed through the crowd of neighbors and approached the lead officer. "Officer, there has been a misunderstanding. Marcus is our security guard. He was just doing his job. The officer looked at Corinne with a stern expression. Ma'am, your security guard just pulled a gun on a federal agent. This is not a misunderstanding. This is a federal crime. Corinne's face went white. Federal agent, that is impossible. She is just a visitor who has been causing problems. The officer showed Corinne Sarah's credentials. Ma'am, Agent Chen is a legitimate FBI agent. Your security guard has been harassing her and stalking her. Tonight, he escalated to threatening her with a weapon. Corinne looked at Sarah with growing horror. You are really FBI. Sarah nodded calmly. I am Special Agent Sarah Chen. I have been trying to resolve this situation peacefully for weeks. Your security guard has been engaging in illegal behavior. That was when the FBI tactical team arrived. 3 black SUVs pulled up to the scene. 6 agents in tactical gear emerged and quickly secured the area. The lead FBI agent approached Sarah. Agent Chen, are you injured? Do you need medical attention? I am fine, Agent Rodriguez. The suspect is secured and disarmed. I have provided my statement to local police. Agent Rodriguez turned to the police officer. We will be taking over this investigation. This is now a federal matter. Marcus watched in growing terror as FBI agents took control of the scene. His world was collapsing around him as he realized the full scope of his mistake. I want to search the suspect's residence, Agent Rodriguez announced. We need to secure any weapons and evidence related to this stalking case. Corinne Williams tried to intervene. You cannot search his house. He has rights. This is all a misunderstanding. Agent Rodriguez looked at Corinne with cold professionalism. Ma'am, your employee just committed assault with a deadly weapon on a federal agent. We have probable cause to search his residence for additional weapons and evidence. The FBI team executed a search warrant on Marcus's house within 2 hours. What they found was deeply disturbing. Marcus had an illegal cache of weapons, including assault rifles and high-capacity magazines. He had detailed photographs of Sarah and other women in the neighborhood. He had handwritten notes documenting his surveillance activities. Agent Chen, this individual had been planning something, Agent Rodriguez told Sarah. These photographs and notes suggest he was targeting multiple women in your neighborhood. I felt sick to my stomach. The man who was supposed to protect our community had been planning to harm residents. Sarah's courage in standing up to him had possibly prevented other women from becoming victims. The HOA board members arrived at the scene as news of the weapons cache spread through the neighborhood. They were in a state of panic as they realized their liability for hearing Marcus without proper background checks. We had no idea, Corinne Williams told the FBI agents. He seemed qualified. He had security experience. Agent Rodriguez reviewed Marcus's background information. Ma'am, this individual has a history of stalking and weapons violations. A simple background check would have revealed these red flags. The neighbors who had gathered to watch the incident were shocked to learn the truth about Marcus. Many residents came forward with their own stories of harassment and inappropriate behavior. He followed my teenage daughter home from school, one neighbor told the FBI agents. He made her uncomfortable with his questions and staring. He has been taking photographs of women exercising in the community gym, another resident reported. We thought it was just inappropriate behavior, but now we realize it was criminal. Sarah's professional reputation in the neighborhood changed instantly. She went from being viewed as a troublemaker to being recognized as the person who had exposed a dangerous predator. "Agent Chen, thank you for protecting our community," one neighbor told her. "We had no idea how dangerous this man was." The federal charges against Marcus came quickly and decisively. The FBI filed multiple felony counts including assault with a deadly weapon on a federal officer, stalking, weapons violations, and civil rights violations. The U.S. Attorney's Office announced they would seek the maximum penalty under federal law. Marcus's defense attorney tried to portray him as a dedicated security guard who had made an honest mistake. "My client was simply doing his job. He had no way of knowing that the woman was a federal agent." The prosecutor destroyed that argument with evidence. "Your client stalked Agent Chen for weeks. He took photographs of her through windows. He threatened her with a weapon. This was not a mistake. This was a pattern of criminal behavior." The HOA faced immediate legal consequences as well. Sarah filed a massive civil rights lawsuit against the organization for negligent hearing and supervision. The lawsuit detailed how the HOA had failed to conduct proper background checks and had ignored multiple warning signs about Marcus's behavior. The HOA created a dangerous situation by hearing an unstable individual and giving him authority over residents' safety, Sarah's attorney argued. They ignored complaints about his behavior and enabled his criminal conduct. Corinne Williams attempted to distance herself from the scandal. She claimed that she had no knowledge of Marcus's background or his inappropriate behavior. But the FBI investigation revealed a different story. "We have documented evidence that Mrs. Williams received multiple complaints about Marcus's behavior," Agent Rodriguez announced. She dismissed these complaints and actively supported Marcus against the residents who reported him. The investigation expanded as other victims came forward. The FBI discovered that Marcus had been targeting women throughout the community. He had been taking photographs of residents without permission, following them to stores and restaurants, and documenting their personal activities. "This individual was operating as a predator within your community," Agent Rodriguez told the gathered residents. Agent Chen's courage in standing up to him prevented other women from becoming victims. The media attention was intense. Local news stations covered the story extensively. The headlines were devastating for the HOA. "HOA hired stalker to provide security and federal agent exposes dangerous HOA guard." Corinne Williams resigned from the HOA board in disgrace. Several other board members also stepped down as the community demanded accountability for their poor oversight. "We trusted these people to protect our community," one resident told reporters. "Instead, they put our families in danger by hearing a predator and ignoring his criminal behavior." The civil lawsuit against the HOA was settled for a substantial amount. The organization was forced to pay damages to Sarah and other victims of Marcus's harassment. They were also required to implement new security protocols and oversight procedures. This settlement sends a message that HOAs cannot hire unstable individuals and ignore their criminal behavior, Sarah's attorney announced. "Organizations have a responsibility to protect residents, not endanger them." Marcus was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. The judge was harsh in his sentencing remarks. "You abused your position of authority to terrorize innocent residents. You stalked women and threatened a federal agent with a weapon. Your behavior was despicable and dangerous." The conviction sent shockwaves through the private security industry. Other HOAs and property management companies began reviewing their hearing practices and conducting background checks on existing employees. The Marcus Williams case has become a cautionary tale. a security industry expert told reporters. Organizations can no longer ignore the importance of proper background checks and ongoing supervision. Sarah's FBI supervisor commended her handling of the situation. Agent Chen demonstrated exceptional professionalism under extremely difficult circumstances. She protected herself and her community while maintaining the highest standards of federal law enforcement. The neighborhood began to heal as residents realized they were finally safe from Marcus's predatory behavior. Many residents approached Sarah to thank her for her courage in standing up to him. "You saved our community," one neighbor told her. "We were all afraid of him, but we did not know how to stop him." Sarah's response was humble and professional. "I was just doing what any law enforcement officer would do. No one should have to live in fear in their own neighborhood." The story became a symbol of how one person's courage can expose corruption and protect an entire community from danger. 6 months after Marcus's arrest, Riverside Estates had transformed completely. The old HOA board was gone, replaced by elected representatives who prioritized transparency and accountability. The new board's first action was to completely overhaul the security protocols. "We will never again hire security personnel without comprehensive background checks," the new HOA president announced. "We will never again ignore complaints from residents about inappropriate behavior." The new security company hired for the community was a professional firm with extensive experience and rigorous training standards. Their guards were licensed, bonded, and subject to ongoing supervision and evaluation. Sarah's reputation in the neighborhood had evolved from suspicious outsider to beloved protector. Residents would stop her during her evening runs to chat and thank her for her service. Children would wave at her from their front yards. She had become a symbol of courage and integrity. "Agent Chen, you gave us our neighborhood back," one elderly resident told her. "We were all afraid of Marcus, but none of us knew how to stop him." The civil lawsuit settlement had forced the HOA to implement new oversight procedures. Residents now had access to board meetings, financial records, and security reports. The organization was required to respond to complaints within 48 hours and provide written explanations for all decisions. Marcus was serving his 5-year sentence in federal prison. His conviction had been covered extensively in security industry publications as a warning to other organizations about the importance of proper hearing practices. The Marcus Williams case changed everything, a private security expert told an industry conference. Organizations now understand that they can face serious legal consequences for hearing unstable individuals and ignoring their criminal behavior. Karen Williams had faced her own consequences. She was charged with conspiracy and obstruction of justice for her role in covering up Marcus's behavior. She ultimately accepted a plea deal that included probation, community service, and financial restitution to the victims. Mrs. Williams enabled Marcus's criminal behavior by dismissing complaints and supporting him against residents, the prosecutor explained. Her actions put the entire community at risk. The media attention had brought national focus to the problem of HOA abuse and the need for accountability in private communities. Sarah had been interviewed by several news programs about the importance of residents standing up to bullying and corruption. HOAs serve an important function in maintaining property values and community standards, Sarah told one interviewer. But they must be held accountable when they abuse their authority or endanger residents. The story had inspired other residents in different communities to speak up about their own experiences with HOA abuse. Several other federal investigations were launched based on complaints from residents who had been encouraged by Sarah's example. "Your courage started a movement," one resident from another state wrote to Sarah. "Because of your example, we found the strength to expose corruption in our own HOA." Sarah's summer vacation had ended, but she continued to visit regularly. The neighborhood had become a place of peace and safety rather than the prison it had been under Marcus's reign of terror. "Dad, I am proud of what we accomplished here," Sarah told me during one of her visits. "We turned a dangerous situation into something positive for the entire community." I looked around at the neighborhood where families were playing in their yards, where residents felt safe walking their dogs, where children could ride their bikes without fear. This was what a community should be. "Sarah, you did not just save our neighborhood," I told her. "You showed everyone what it means to stand up to bullies and fight for what is right." The transformation was complete. Riverside Estates had gone from a community ruled by fear to one governed by accountability and respect. The residents had reclaimed their neighborhood from a dangerous predator, and they had done it by supporting one courageous woman who refused to be intimidated. Marcus was in prison where he belonged. Corinne Williams had faced justice for her role in enabling his behavior. The community had new leadership committed to transparency and safety. Most importantly, future residents would never have to endure the terror that Marcus had inflicted on our neighborhood. The new security protocols and oversight procedures would ensure that no one like him would ever again be given authority over our community's safety. Sarah's visit had ended, but her impact would last forever. She had given us back our peace of mind and our sense of security. She had shown us that one person's courage can change everything.